For me, Xbox are totally holding back at the moment when it comes to their Xbox sales, and I do kind of feel that's due to the Black Friday, which is coming up on the horizon. Even so, they've still managed to bring us some games to the table, and we do have some cracking games down in price, with some of them at the lowest prices ever, so it's still honestly worth checking out the sale for this week. Remember though, I do give away a free Xbox game every single week on these sales videos. All you have to do is just comment below and you're automatically entered. Congratulations to last week's winner, you did win the copy of Chronos: The New Dawn. Just hit me up on our awesome Discord server and I will get that game right over to you. With that, let's just dive straight into the games on sale for this week. First up, we have one that actually totally flew under the radar for a lot of people out there, but LEGO Bricktales is one of the most thoughtful and relaxing puzzle games that I've pretty much played in recent years. Instead of smashing things up like in usual LEGO games, this one actually focuses on creative construction, and it lets you solve environmental challenges by actually building with your bricks. It's got a sort of charming diorama style presentation, a very wholesome story, and some genuinely clever level design. If you've ever loved LEGO as a kid, or you still do like me, then this one is a peaceful, satisfying gem that deserves way more attention. At £5 is an absolute no-brainer, and you won't ever regret picking this one up. The second game of this franchise has really put it into the spotlight, but the original Kingdom Come Deliverance is still a game that holds up incredibly well to this day, and it's easily one of the best RPGs today, even though it released many years ago. Of course, you will play as Henry, a blacksmith's son caught in the war that forces you to fight, bleed, and survive by your wits. The Royal Edition does include everything though, including the DLC, and it really makes it the definitive way to experience 15th century Bohemia. The games are really known though for having sword fights that are very tense and tactical, requiring actual skill rather than just button mashing. The world also feels rather raw and grounded, including the likes of muddy roads, hungry peasants, and just the weight of every decision. It's historical role-playing at its very finest, beautifully detailed and refreshingly human. For just £7, you're getting hundreds of hours of story, adventure, and authentic atmosphere, and I highly recommend you grab it as soon as possible. Now, Tchia was such a stunning game and one that heavily goes under the radar for so many out there, and I actually played this one a couple of months back now, and I was hooked from the very start, especially with its fantastic and heartwarming narrative. The game actually takes us on a journey to a world that's inspired by New Caledonia, where you play as a young girl with the incredible ability to soul jump into animals and objects. This power lets you experience the world in some very fresh ways, like soul jumping into a bird to soar through the skies, a fish to dive underwater, or even, if you so choose to, a rock to roll down a hill. The tropical islands you explore are very lush, colourful and full of life, from stuff like dense jungles to sparkling beaches. With traditional music to play, secrets to uncover, and a world that's so brimming with just heartwarming charm, Tchia is a fantastic indie, and for this low price you just need to add it to your Xbox game collection. I still consider Journey to the Savage Planet as a massive hidden gem on Xbox, and it really took the sort of whole lost explorer in space idea and injected it with so much pure humour. You're basically stranded on a bizarre alien world, cataloguing wildlife, scanning plants, and then just trying to stay alive, all whilst your employer, known as Kindred Aerospace, mocks you via corporate propaganda. It's vibrant, funny, and just a kind of right of weird. The characters are way adorable nightmares, the gadgets are totally ridiculous, and environmental puzzles actually are pretty cleverly layered here. Whether you're playing this one even solo or even co-op, is a constant loop of discovery and laughter, and for just £6.24, this is easily one of the most charming sci-fi comedies on the market today. You are getting such a solid FPS experience as well, which includes a ton of Metroidvania elements that work so bloody well. I really wanted to highlight one of my favourite indie games I experienced a few years back now, and that was actually on good old Google Stadia, but that is known as Wavetale. It begins with a mysterious shadow under the water and unfolds into a more breezy sort of heartfelt adventure where gliding across the ocean becomes second nature to you. You take control of Sigrid, a girl that's navigating a post-flooded cityscape, uncovering memories and just rebuilding what was lost essentially. It's not just the storytelling that pulls you in though, it's just how effortlessly the game lets you move. Every wave you skim, every rooftop you swing from feels like flow state gaming in its purest form, and visually I honestly think it looks incredibly gorgeous. It's short for sure, but it's totally memorable, and right now it's just 85% off, and for that low price point it's easily one of the cheapest games within this week's sale. Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding still remains one of the most unusual and thought-provoking games I've probably ever played, and the director's cut really took that vision just even further. Players will once again take control of sand-ported bridges, and you'll be going across a hauntingly beautiful wasteland, and essentially reconnecting different scattered settlements through determination and ingenuity. The experience mixes exploration, strategy, and unique asynchronous multiplayer elements that actually let you subtly assist one another across different worlds. This version of course though does enhance nearly every new aspect of this Xbox game with brand new gear, combat options and bonus missions, and it ultimately kind of deepens that emotional and mechanical complexity. Now available outside of the PlayStation ecosystem, which was great to see, Kojima's artistry is just phenomenal here. It's currently marked down by 50% to about £17.50 I believe it was, but is an excellent chance to dive into it before that price climbs up again. Talking of prices also climbing again, if you're someone who's looking to take advantage of the Xbox Game Pass price hike and lock in at the lowest price as soon as possible, then do use my link in the comments below. This is certainly not a sponsored video at all, but essentially I've partnered with a company named Loaded, who were formerly known as CD Keys, and you can currently get 12 months of Ultimate for just under 120 quid in the UK and about $200 in the US, which is a staggering low price compared to the recent price hike. Of course, it does help me support the channel as I do get a very small kickback as well, and of course it's so greatly appreciated. I also want to give a very quick shout out as well to our channel members, and if you want stuff like exclusive perks, discounts as well on my website, videos early and more, then do click that join button down below, as you can join for just less than the price of coffee. Now let's just dive back into the remaining games on sale for this week. Mandragora is just grim fantasy done incredibly well. It's so dark, decadent, and hauntingly beautiful. This one though is set in a decaying world devoured by corruption, and you journey through gothic landscapes filled with monsters, zealots, and impossible choices. The hand-painted art direction actually gives it a look of a sort of moving oil painting, while the combat combines weighty melee attacks with spells and precision dodges. Beneath this action note actually lies some pretty rich lore as well, so if you want to be into that, every character also feels torn between faith and despair, so it gets pretty complex throughout your experience. It's slower than a lot of other Metroidvanias out there, but it's far more thoughtful, dripping with atmosphere and so much melancholy. At £20 and 9p with 40% off, it really is perfect, especially if you're looking for sort of substance with your challenge. Mandragora doesn't rush you, instead it wants to lure you into that dark fairy tale that's equally parts beauty and a lot of brutality. If you don't want to dive into any more arcade racing games, then let me introduce you to Assetto Corsa, and I hope I'm not going to butcher this, Competizione. I probably have messed that up. Even so, this is a game that's centered around precision, realism, and just focus, but distilled into 4 wheels. It is also actually officially licensed for GT racing, meaning that every car and circuit here is actually laser scanned and obsessively accurate by the dev team. You don't have to play this one casually either, as each race really is the test of your skill and nerve. The handling also does feel fantastic, and for me, it's still one of the better sim racing games out in the market, and can easily rival the likes of Forza Motorsport, which is quite a daring statement. It is currently going for a low price of just under 9 quid, and that is quite absurd for that level of polish. I do believe it was also noted by Overtake.gg that there will be no additional content for this game, as they've essentially ended that top level of support. Do only expect at this point some minor patches here and there into the future, but with that price point it's kind of hard to beat really. Crime Boss Rockay City is a pretty lackluster game, and the only reason I would ever slightly recommend it in this week's sales video is simply because that £4 price tag is just so hard to ignore. To give you a bit more of an idea about it though, it's essentially one that's like a forgotten 90s action movie, and it accidentally became a game. You play as Travis Baker, who's voiced by Michael Madsden, trying to take over the city through heists, turf wars, and total chaos. The cast is also pretty wild in this one, with celebs like Chuck Norris, Danny Trejo, and Kim Basinger, and the gameplay is more of a mix of stealth shooting and strategy and missions, but most of the time it's pretty lackluster. Don't get me wrong, it is kind of janky, but a hidden gem to me really. There's loads of goofy cutscenes and hilarious bugs, and it makes Payday itself look like Payday from Temu. Like I said, this price is pretty decent for it, just please don't go in expecting a really good game here. Sometimes you just need a break from all the chaos of shooters and RPGs, and House Flipper delivers that in the most satisfying way possible. There's something strangely addictive about taking a rundown property, cleaning it up from the ground up, smashing its walls, repainting it, and then just turning it into your sort of dream home. It's an amalgamation of relaxation, creativity, and chaos, and I have to say, if you really get carried away with that sledgehammer, then it descends in some great and funny madness. Whether you want cozy little spaces or just ridiculous mega mansions, the freedom in this one is all yours, especially with House Flipper. If you've ever been hooked on renovation shows, or if you like other games like sort of Power Wash Simulator 2 on Game Pass, then House Flipper is certainly worth your time, and for less than the price of a coffee is an easy pickup really. I won't lie, I was never expecting a golfing game to be set in Purgatory, but somehow the indie team really made it work in a way that truly surprised me. Cursed to Golf turns the quietest sport imaginable but into a roguelike endurance test, which is a bit of a weird sentence to say, but basically every single shot could send you deeper into that underworld. You'll face a ton of different obstacles such as spike traps, TNT crates, teleporters and ghosts, and that's all whilst trying to complete your 18 holes of punishment. The pixel art is definitely charming here, so so definitely don't let that put you off, as it's not basic at all. The humour is pretty spot on for this indie experience, and the difficulty can be deliciously cruel at times. It is tough, but incredibly addictive, and even though I'm not actually a golf fan myself, this one actually did quite hook me. For just under £3 is an absolute gem for fans of creative indies, and it just shows that Curse to Golf proves the afterlife can have some very great course design. I totally agree that the city building genre really isn't for everyone, and it is completely fine. However, if you do want to dip your toes into this area without sort of going balls deep into something like City Skylines, then let me introduce you to SteamWorld Build. This one actually really flipped the city builder genre on its head, and it instead merged town management with dungeon mining, and yes, it's exactly as cool as it sounds. This one though is set in the cyberpunk meets western steampunk world universe, where you basically tasked with creating a thriving town on the surface while mining ancient tech deep down below to basically help your robot citizens escape this dying planet. Of course, up top you're managing your housing, supply chains and more, but then underground is a kind of different beast entirely, as there's loads of exploration to do, creatures for you to encounter, and also some quite cool tower defense mechanics that's shoved into the mix. It's pretty much 2 games in one, and for that low price point you just need to grab it as soon as possible. Ghostrunner really is a frenetic and fast-paced FPS experience, and it really requires you to have your reflexes on lock pretty much every single moment. You take control of a cybernetic assassin that's sprinting through a neon-drenched dystopia, and you'll be slicing enemies at lightning speed with a single swing. One hit can actually kill you in this one, but one perfect run makes you feel totally unstoppable in every single way. Every level also runs a sort of rhythm though, as every wall run and dodge is a dance, and honestly, when you get that motion going, you'll really get some goosebumps. The soundtrack is also an electronic storm that fuels your flow, and when it clicks, it's just pure gaming bliss. You will die in this one hundreds of times, so definitely be warned, but each death really does push you closer to its mastery. For £6.24 is an adrenaline rush that just never slows down, and even though this second one is also on sale this week, is 100% worth playing the first entry in 2025. It was always a shame to see Scorn leave Xbox Game Pass towards the end of 2024, but this sale makes it almost an essential pickup if you've never had the chance to play it. I will say right out the gate that this isn't a traditional FPS as it wants you to think. Every corridor in this one oozes with grotesque art that's inspired by H.R. Geiger, so think of a biomechanical labyrinth where flesh and machinery blur into one unsettling whole. There's no dialogue, no guidance, just you lost in decay and so much confusion. It is essentially a puzzle-based experience, but is all centered around a sort of organic and alien feature, forcing you to think rather than shooting your way out for once. It is now 75% off, and realistically that's such a small price for such a strikingly bold horror experience. It's one that I do highly recommend myself, and this is the best price that we've ever seen for it since it launched. What game are you thinking of picking up this week in Xbox's store sale? You'll have to let me know in the comments below. Remember as well to smash that like button if you enjoyed, and if we say hit over 600 likes on this video, I'll give away a couple more games in next week's sales video. Make sure also to subscribe so you don't miss out on these and for more Xbox content every single day. And whilst you're here, why don't you check the video out on screen right now? I recently covered the review of Winterborough as it recently just released on Xbox and also Game Pass, and it's totally worth checking out this little cozy gem.